The demons have been exorcised. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Pittsburgh. We're going to Tampa Bay. The Capitals have done it.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Off the Ice podcast, the only podcast brought to you by a hockey retailer. And not only that, one of the biggest hockey retailers in the world. We're over here at HockeyMonkey. You're listening to the Monkey Sports Podcast. We'll get right into it, talking about retail. In the past month or so since we've had the last Off the Ice, we've seen two major stick launches. The Bauer Nexus ADV, which is just breaking the market right now, flying off the shelves, and the True AX9 series. We've had the opportunity to play with the AX9 a little bit, not had the opportunity yet to play with the ADV with the big hole in the middle. I'm not a hockey guy, so I'm going to open it up to Grayson from HockeyMonkey and Tyler from HockeyMonkey. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great.
Pretty good. Ready to get the second episode ready to go?
So let's talk about this this ADV first. Bauer said, you can't change the way things are done unless you make a drastic change. They put a huge hole in the blade of their stick. Thoughts, comments, concerns?
I appreciate them trying to do something new, I guess. They knew it was going to kind of catch people by surprise, build that hype, and it has. So I'll kind of explain the basic idea of it. So the top half of the hole on the blade is stiffer. It's like more stiff. And then the bottom half is more flexible. So when you catch the puck, it's supposed to act as like a reverberation and kind of like send the puck off the blade faster. Bauer's done a really good job kind of explaining it better than I can, and people have definitely bought into it, bought into the hype, and I mean it's done well on Instagram and Facebook, so we're waiting kind of to hear what people think about how it actually works. So I appreciate them trying to test the waters with the new tech. In the blade, I don't think we've ever seen it before. We've seen the Reebok O-line a couple years ago where they tried with the holes in the bottom third of the stick, and I think that was kind of sort of the same, like save some weight, get on your backswing, get more power following through. So it's kind of sort of that same sort of technological idea.
But they're trying to do it differently though, right? It's like you said, it's on the toe instead, or rather on the blade instead of the stick. Because I understand, you reduce weight and you get airflow and stuff, but when it's on the blade, when the thing's just taped over, you're supposed to tape over it, right?
You can.
There's so many. Bauer's done that too, where they're like, how would you tape the stick if you had one? And most people, they just tape it up like a normal stick. So I thought about that, and I was like, wouldn't that just kind of cancel out what it's intended to do, sort of? So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they've gone through that. They said when they were testing it, they had 2,000 hours of on-ice testing with it. And I'm sure that was one of the variables where they, taped it differently and saw the, effects of different tape jobs. But yeah, you would think it would kind of negate the effects of the blade, but.
Yeah, some of the misconceptions I've been seeing with people talking about it is people talk about wouldn't that create like a drag, and wouldn't that mess up the reaction, if you get a pass that kind of skips up on like a chipped ice and kind of hits the top of your blade, wouldn't it react really weird?
Yeah.
And if you just taped it normally, I feel like that kind of takes away from that aspect. But the construction of the blade is what really makes it what it is, with the flexibility and the stiffness to really generate the power and the sling really of the stick.
Yeah, and I mean, most NHL players, they're all perfectionists, right? So they know how every single piece of their gear works. And, when you throw in an aspect like that or a change like that where it's, they have the puck on their stick hundreds of times a game, and you go and change that, it's a pretty drastic change. So that's why I don't think you've seen too many NHL guys using it yet. But
give it a summer. I think it might pop up a little bit more next season once people have, unneeded months of using it, where it's you don't need the top of your performance. Yeah. But having it over a summer, I think will kind of change a couple of minds at least.
Yeah. And I mean, everyone knows kind of what it is. We kind of talked about it. Sort of kind of went viral, at least for us. I mean, it did pretty well. So kids know what it is, and they
It's a big
know.
marketing move.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll see. Like I said, I mean, we'll see if it catches on.
So Grayson, you made a good point that like the people aren't using it because it's like you need it, right? You need
Yeah.
your stick right now. You don't want to change. I wonder, I'm more curious to ask Tyler, you, that like in lacrosse, like launches aren't really that big of a thing. Like launches just kind of come up a week or so before, but obviously in hockey, like especially with something like this that's so groundbreaking, these launches, I mean, this has been on the schedule for what, 2 years probably, you know, at least a lot of months.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious about is like, why now? Like, do you, maybe you don't have insight into it. Obviously that's not something that we can decide as a retailer versus a vendor, but it seems like, yeah, it's the middle of everybody's hockey season. Like even high school kids are in the middle of playing games, you know, mites are playing right now. So I wonder why you're going to release this new technology with the hopes of like, oh, maybe over the summer they'll check it out.
Well, there could be a couple of factors to that, right? So obviously you have Bauer, CCM, Warrior, and True's even making a huge push now. So it's Bauer's always been that company that's kind of their thing. They test the waters, test the market, push the boundaries a little bit, and they want to be the first company with something like this. I mean, even with like the 3D skate scanners, they were the first, and then CCM followed suit, and then True with their custom. And obviously they've perfected it, I think, but I know they wanted to definitely be the first on there. So I don't know if there was like a specific time where they're just like, okay, we want to aim for this goal and get it by then. But I think it's just like, if we have it done, let's get it out ASAP. But I've known about this launch for probably about 4 months. And then same thing with so before this, like probably 6 months ago, they had the Supreme ADV, and that was their limited release Supreme stick. And that one kind of was the same, like 4-month window.
Great advertising campaign on that, by the way. If you haven't checked out our Monkey Sports advertising for the Supreme ADV.
Supreme ADV. Still have a few left in stock. Go check it out.
Head to YouTube, check it out.
Fantastic.
So you mentioned True making this push to really get into the stick market and really jump head first, which is awesome to see. You know, it's these smaller companies really try to kind of chip away and make their mark as well. Let's get right into talking about the AX9, something that we were just out using on ice the other day. Again, thoughts, comments, concerns.
I like it. I like it a lot. So back when I lived up north, I actually had a True AX9 or a True XC9. Unfortunately, something happened to it. I think it got like stolen or something. But so I've had a pretty good experience with True sticks. I'm a huge fan. I like their low kick sticks. And then the AX9 follows suit. You know, it's a low kick stick, has a kick at the bottom third of the shaft. It's perfect for players that really like to take those quick wrist shots, snapshots, you know, right up close with the goalie. You usually like to snipe the corners up close.
The couple of times like we've gone out and used them, I liked your shots, how they were like coming off clean.
Yep.
You know, the AX9 is is a very nice line for both goalies and players. Like there's a lot to go there. I did a blog on the AX9 goalie stick and talked about like, you know, the wide variety of what True's really bringing to the market right now. And I think True's really a company to like keep an eye on in these next couple of years, especially now.
Yeah. Yeah, and their marketing is bigger than it's ever been. The past probably 2 years, I think they've, you know, not only do they have the AX9, but they also have like the X Core line. So they have 2 lines of 6, and then within that they have, you know, 4 different types. So they have the whole family of 6 now. So they're really kind of making a big push for if you're this type of player. You know, if you're a player that likes those quick wrist shots, get this. But if you want like more of a mid kick, maybe go with this line. Yeah, so I mean, and then it's taken off quite a bit too. People are definitely starting to know the name True, especially, you know, with the launch of their new helmet, and then obviously the custom skates that they've had for, you know, they were the first company with the custom skates. So it's kind of where they made their name, and then they got into the 6, which I've been a big fan. I mean, it weighs in at 393 grams, which is on par with some of the other elite level sticks. So.
Well, there you go. Shop the entire True hockey line, as well as you're running out of time to get yourself one of the Nexus ADVs. So head over to HockeyMonkey.com, head into your local Monkey Sports Superstore, check it all out. With the gear talk out of the way, NHL Trade Deadline just finished up earlier this week. Lots of big moves. Where are you guys thinking NHL looks like at this point now?
The trade deadline, I feel like there was a couple small moves this year. It wasn't as dramatic as a couple of previous years that were just, you know, big name after big name. I feel like teams were kind of looking like depth players this year. Yeah, there was a couple people going to higher teams that were just kind of like, you know, adding, but there was no front runners, I believe. this year for the trade deadline. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, so I have a list of 5 teams, not necessarily in order, that I think kind of made some big splashes. I would say, so I can read my list, no order. I have the Golden Knights, Islanders, Oilers, Senators, and Hurricanes. I think of those top 5, I would probably say the Hurricanes had the best. I think that's universally, like, you know, you have like guys like Sportsnet, NBC, they'll go and grade or rank the teams that had the best like trade deadlines, and everyone had the Hurricanes at 1. So I think that was probably the, you know, standalone like factor there why I'd probably rank them as 1. They went and got Vincent Trocheck from the Panthers, which
that's probably the biggest move.
Yeah,
it's like a top 3.
I would say that's him and Blake Coleman.
Yeah,
I think the Lightning got Blake Coleman, so I think those are the 2 like biggest name ones. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it was a lot of like.
Anthony Ciu, I think, is like the only other like really big move in players, at least.
Yeah, I think like there was a lot of trades, but it wasn't anything like, you know, blockbuster.
Yeah, so like you said, like the Knights were on the top of that list because they picked up like 2 depth players. And they didn't really lose much. And then they just picked up another goalie who's good enough to be a starter. Mm-hmm. You know, that's really what they're there for. Leonard was in the playoffs with the Islanders, and he made quite a run with them. Like, he kind of proved that the Islanders could do a bunch of stuff. And then over the summer last year, they got rid of a lot. They added a lot. So the Islanders they're one of those teams that after their Tavares left, you were wondering, are they still good? But I think Trotz behind that bench is dangerous. The guy changes teams. So the Islanders are going to be kind of an excited team to watch. I feel like they're a very basic team to play against, but they get the job done.
Yeah. So the Senators traded away Jean Peugeot, and they got 3 picks. So they have 3 picks in the first round and then 4 in the second round from the Islanders.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, they didn't really get anyone big in the trade deadline like now, but I think their prospect pool, that puts them from probably like a top 10 team in terms of prospects, probably like a top 5. So I think that was huge. So that's kind of why I had them on my list.
Yeah, I saw they're projected to have at least 2 of the top 5 next year, the Sens.
Yeah, and I think, and then...
If not the 1 and 3 or something ridiculous, like it's up there.
Yeah, the 3rd pick, it's something like because they traded with the Islanders, so it's like if the Islanders, I think, don't make the playoffs or something, then they get like another first-round pick. But if they do make the playoffs, then it drops down to like a second-round pick. It's one of those types of deals. But I do think in terms of prospects, I think they're in a pretty good spot.
Do you think that picking up this many players like next year is going to be huge for them if they get the right amount of people? Do you think that, you know, it's in their favor to be good in the next few years with these young guns, or do you think that maybe some of them might not pan out?
For the Senators specifically, yes. I think it definitely favors them for sure. First of all, they have a young team right now. It's centered by Brady Tkachuk, who's 21. So
he's probably going to be their front runner going forward. Like he's got that kind of mentality.
Yeah. So I mean, if you put him with, they're obviously looking for success in, not right now, but they're kind of building for the next like 2,
I think
3,
like
4,
5 years down the line, like they're going to be a competitive team again if their manager keeps making these good moves. Mm-hmm. So yeah, just like prospect wise, is it a game of chance, or is this like a for sure they're going to like get out of this?
I think that I think they can. They have I guess it depends who they get in the draft, but I think they can.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, is it like a chance for who they get, you know?
Yeah. And in terms of like how often prospects pan out in the first and second round, usually the chance is pretty good that they're going to do well, at least in a, starting 6 spot. But I mean, even then you've seen guys like, Johnny Gaudreau in the 5th round.
Yeah, they just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah,
or like
Kucherov.
Something happened to him. Yeah.
Yeah, Kucherov, I think, were in like late 3rd round or something. So I mean, you see guys like that all the time where they can just, it depends on their situation, and they can just
Yeah, some guys just like once they hit that NHL level, they show something else, and it's like, well, there's their career. Like,
it's
here they go.
It's even like well, this is kind of the exact opposite of that example, but like Nathan Mackinnon, I mean, he was drafted in the top 10 and he started out kind of slow, but he was a big prospect coming in, and then his first 3 seasons were like pretty average, and then look at his last 2 seasons now.
I think he's a top 5 player in the league.
I would say top 3 player in the league, yeah. So it's like, sometimes you can just get lucky like that, but I do think they're going to be, a solid team 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Especially Brady Tkachuk. Led by him, he's pretty solid, so. Another team that I liked a lot was the Oilers. I'm surprised they didn't really get talked about as much as I thought they should have, with Anthony Ciu, like you mentioned, and then Mike Green. Yeah, that was a good pickup. Mike Green, he gets a lot of flack for his defensive ability, but I thought it was a good pickup. And then Tyler Ennis as well. So that's a lot of speed for.
I feel like Tyler Ennis is pretty underrated.
Yeah, and it's something that they need. First of all, size and speed. You have the fastest guy in the league on your team, and you put him with a guy who has probably one of the best shots in the league, in Draisaitl. But apart from that, I mean, I don't know. Their speed's not incredible. So, and we saw in the first game with Anthony Ciu, it was Oilers Ducks, I think like 2 days ago, and they both had like 4 points.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like kind of it attests to the direction that the game is going in. It's like speed, quickness, hands, and your ability to make plays off the puck, and that kind of falls right into what they got. So I think it's a good move for them, for sure.
So apart from the trade deadline news, we also had huge news and something that's people were expecting to happen this season, and I think maybe kind of happened a little bit later than people were anticipating. But Ovechkin scores a 700th goal. He continues to chase the 894, the record that he wants to break, and definitely is in a good position to, only being 33 years old.
Yeah, 34.
Which actually blows my mind every time I look at him and think that guy's still got like
8
years of high. Exactly, he looks like he's 65. But regardless, an incredible milestone to catch. Do you guys, Tyler, I know you're a Caps fan, so I'm pretty confident in your answer, but do you guys think he gets there? You think he breaks the record?
I would say it would be kind of a shame if he didn't, in a way, with the pacey that he's going.
894 is a lot of goals.
Can't confirm.
Yeah.
So 894 is a lot of goals, and he is at 701. So he needs 200 more. He's 34, and we all know Ovechkin's play style. He's not a guy that's going to stray away from contact, not run into people. He's pretty much just going to skate through you, and that kind of obviously takes a toll on you after a while. To your point when you were introducing the topic, took him a little bit longer than what people thought. We can go into this a little bit later. The Caps have not been good recently, so
yeah, I'm thinking maybe just this season. I know, at the start of the year, it's like, oh man, Ovi's gonna hit 700 in no time, and then the felt like the last few weeks has kind of been a drudge to really get him.
The last few weeks, and like I said, we can talk about this more later, but the Caps have not been good, and like Ovechkin, as I say this as a Caps fan, I don't want to see him like pushing too hard for the record. Because, at a certain point, he's going to need all that energy for the playoffs. They're still in a good position for the number 1 spot in the entire league. And I would like to see them get that. And it's at what point do you say, like, Ovechkin, dial it back a little bit and save it for the playoffs, or turn up and try to get the goals, and like.
Well, he's not exactly slow this year. He's tied for second with 43 goals. Like, only 2 behind 45, which is number 1 with Pastrnak.
Yeah.
And Pastrnak having 45 goals, as the Bees are insane. But, I mean, so are the Capitals. Like, even though the Capitals aren't doing great.
Even on their slow streak,
they're still, like, very, very good.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like scoring isn't really, like, a problem for him. Like, 701 was a crazy goal. He just kind of hit it, like, out of the air.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, getting to 700 was, I felt like that 2-week span was longer than it was, 1 goal to 43 or 42, I guess. To the initial question, yes, I hope he breaks it. And, we've all done the calculations. If he plays for 7 more years and gets 30 goals, he has the record. But then it comes to the, question where it's like, can he play at this exact level for 7 more years? That's the main question. So you would say probably not. So you'd say maybe, 4 or 5 more years, but then at that point he has to get, in that time span, 45 goals over the next 5 seasons, which that is tough.
Yeah, so I mean that, like, you made the good point of like the style of play that he or the style that he plays in is like very aggressive. Like, he's going to hit you in the mouth. He's not going to shy away from contact, which of course has worked for the first 701 goals of his career. But like eventually, like, your body breaks down. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, you have to change the way you play if you want to have that longevity. Like, I picture like Jaromir Jagr out there like playing for the Panthers when he's 45 years old or whatever. It's like you watch him, it's like, man, this guy's just like not what he was. And so it's like you don't want to see Ovechkin, who's maybe 20 goals away at age 38, like out there just trying to wheel to like get the. And I don't think that'll happen. Like, I think he gets there for sure, because I mean 38 in hockey it's old, but you still got another year or two. Like, you're still playing at a pretty good level.
Yeah, there's still a couple guys who are like 40s right now.
Yeah, exactly. And like again, like Jagr was still out there, like he was still doing it,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it'll be curious to see. like one big injury, one big hit, something like that really throws a wrench into that whole path.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why I've been so hesitant about saying whether or not he's going to raid, because I'm superstitious and don't want that injury to happen. But
yeah, I mean, of course, yes, but if you're flying in there head first and you're a 40-year-old man going against a 22-year-old who's trying to take your head off because you're the best of all time, like, obviously I don't want that to happen either. But these are things that happen in professional sports.
Yeah. I saw something during the Caps kind of dry spell within the last month. There have been a couple times where, at the end of the games, teams will kind of, the last 3 minutes, there'll be like a penalty, or teams will like pull their goalies. And we've never seen Ovechkin, or at least I haven't really noticed it too much, Ovechkin playing during this time period. So, for example, if they have like their goalie pulled, the Caps usually won't send Ovechkin on the ice. I'll just like give him a break, kind of. And someone pointed out, I think it was on Twitter, someone pointed out that they've been seeing Ovechkin playing more and more in these situations than he's ever have in the past. So, and people were saying like they're sending him out there to push for that record, and like, it's good because he has more opportunities to get it, but then it's like that time adds up where it's time he could be resting. He's out there, going hard to get a goal on an empty net just for, one goal. So I could see both arguments, but it's like, especially later in the season, I mean, I want to see him go for another cup run. So
yeah, I mean, it might be this year.
Yeah,
the cup run might be this year or nothing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I also don't want to.
With some of these trades over the summer, might be dangerous for the Caps.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they're in a pretty good spot now once they get everything figured out, like their goaltender situation. But
yeah, and I think like Ovechkin is really the LeBron James type player, where it's like he keeps getting older. People like commentators are like, oh, he's gonna start slowing down next year. Mm-hmm. Every year they keep saying that he's gonna keep slowing down.
Yeah,
but he's still this top athlete, and the way that Ovechkin plays, it's like he doesn't need all that much to get his goals. Like, the guy has a rocket shot. You throw him on the ice, and with the Caps offense, you just get one pass to him. That's all he needs, and he can fit it in.
Yeah.
Like, goalies know it's coming, but it's you also can't short yourself on anyone else on that ice. Everyone on that Caps line is dangerous, that you can't shy away or cheat your way into it, or they score. Mm-hmm. So it's like, even if Ovechkin's not scoring on those situations, it's someone else is getting a goal, or they just push to Ovechkin, which as a defensive core you have to push away from to cover all these guys. It's such a dangerous play. I've looked it up myself, like kind of breaking down, trying to understand like how is he getting all these open chances, and he has to. The Caps offense is so smart that he's open. Mm-hmm. So, I think he's someone who's going to keep getting like 40 to 45 every year, if not like high 30s at the least. So I feel like we're going to see it at 6 years from now. I think 6 is a good mark.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Yeah, 5 to 7. Yeah, I mean, see like,
yeah, even if he's kind of slow.
Yeah, I mean, you see like, commentators, analysts all the time, he got to like his 4th 50-goal season in a row, and it's like, oh yeah, he's gonna start slowing down, and now he's on pace for his 8th in a row. So it's like,
yeah, it's like one of these guys. Yeah,
I mean, it's like the LeBron James sort of argument. It's like, people said he was going to slow his pace down, 30 points, whatever he's getting, and then they said he was going to stop doing that 6 seasons ago, and then he's still kind of on that same pace.
Yeah, this is one of those athletes.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I mean, that's kind of a testament to his ability, I guess. I mean, we've seen it so few times that it's like, how many times, when are we going to see another 50 goal scorer 8 times in a row?
Austin Mathews.
Yeah. I mean, Austin Mathews, he would have to start like this season, though. He would have to start like now.
He's got the same as Ovechkin.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's only getting better.
Well, we'll get there when the time comes.
Tyler, I know you opened it up to some fan questions or hot takes. Did we get anything good on the gram?
All right. So a couple of hours ago, I opened up chance for some fans to give some responses on our Instagram story, whether it be hot takes, questions, predictions, anything like that. We got a number of all of those. One that really stood out to me was the topic from Vin_Savo on Instagram. He wants to know our thoughts on the future of hockey enforcers in the NHL, which I thought was interesting. It's something that's been talked about a little bit in the media. We've seen it throughout the game, especially within the last 2 or 3 years. That role is not really around anymore, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I think, like, you look at a guy like Ryan Reeves from, I think, is he still in Vegas?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Last year in the Stanley Cup final, or 2 years ago, I guess. Ryan Reeves, I mean, he's the epitome, like, enforcer, right? Look at a guy like Tom Wilson, it's still there a little bit, but it's definitely, at least with how the NHL is going now in terms of like safety regulations, eliminating hits to the head, unsafe hits, anything like that. They're really cracking down on that. So that specific role has forced players like that traditionally to force them to like change their role. So like Tom Wilson, for example, he first came in the league and that was his role. I mean, that's what he did. Now, I mean, I don't know how many points he has, but every night he's on the score sheet, whether it's a point, goal, or not on the score sheet, plus minus, anything like that. And he's still like, he can throw his body around, but he still has the ability to change his game to where he's not just physical, which I think a lot of the guys like are being forced to do that now, which, when I started watching hockey, I don't know, when I was young, you had guys like Scott Stevens who, he was pretty skilled, but he was on the ice to enforce. Like, he was on the ice to scare people. So that's not really around anymore, I don't think.
I think you have to look at like the evolution of sport as a whole, like outside of hockey. I think hockey, kind of like we touched earlier, has been maybe the slowest to have some of these big changes. But you look at just like the modern athlete is so fast, so precise with exactly what they do. Like if you look at every sport, I was watching old NBA highlights from the 80s. Guys are hacking each other like crazy. You see like Bill Laimbeer throwing people on the ground and stuff. Like that doesn't happen anymore. Like baseball, we talked about on Monkey Ball podcast last week, how kind of the pitching at somebody is going away because of safety concerns and stuff like that. I think that the like maybe bloodthirstiness of the American sports fan, I don't know if it's necessarily dying down, but I think you're getting so much more of a wave of people like, oh, people are getting hurt, or we need these safety precautions and stuff. So I agree. I think while that role doesn't go away always, there's always going to be like the goons that are out there. There's going to have to be guys that are more dynamic that can do things other than just go beat somebody up. Like I think that's falling out of favor for sure. And in all sport, everywhere.
Yeah, especially with like the one that comes up to me is like football and hockey. Obviously, it's like the physicality is still there, but the game's like gotten so much faster. Where it's like, I don't know if it's harder to make those big hits, but like, I mean, you get a guy like, Connor McDavid or something. He, you say like to stop him, all you have to do is just like put your body on him, be physical with him. But it's like he's too fast. You can't, like, no one can do that.
And like I think it's a good thing though. I think like sports as a whole have gotten better. You always make the argument of like, oh man, if you put LeBron back in Jordan's era or whatever, like he would just be so much bigger and so much more physical. Like that's an inherent part of the game now of like being physical with a purpose. It's not just like, I'm going to go take that guy's head off. You look at football, like you look at some of the top like defensive ends and stuff. They're not just monster people that are throwing people around. They're very, very skilled. Like they're training with knives and stuff. Like they're quick. They're athletic. It's not just like, I am good at this or I excel because I'm strong. Like they actually have to have a purpose.
Didn't like one of the defensive ends in the combine run like a 4.5 40?
Exactly. Like they're freaks now. And again, I think that's great. Like, yeah, you want a guy like LeBron who could go out and dominate an NFL football field, but also be phenomenal in basketball. Like, you don't have to have these dudes that are just brutes for the sake of being brutes. And I think hockey's going to follow that trend. You're going to get a lot more like really hyper talented guys that are really fast, great on the puck, make great decisions. Like, you don't need that anymore.
So I think it was Tortorella was saying like, he's like, where's this like this bloodthirsty mentality again? Like where is it gone? Like he always gets mad at his team because he's like, where is it? Like where did the hungry part of the game go? And like I kind of agree with that, where it's like there's no hate anymore. There's no like, I want to beat this team because I hate them. Like I don't like these guys.
There's like less trash talking now. Even like there's like less rivalries. I feel.
I feel like the chirps are just kind of like.
Yeah, I mean it's
like, you're not trying to hurt anyone anymore.
and like the back of your mind, like all these guys are like, I mean I don't know about if they're all friends, but they're all like acquaintances, right? It's like hockey's such a small community.
But it's always been like that. You gotta think.
I disagree. Yeah,
okay.
I think that sports as a whole too. Yeah, you hear guys from like the '60s talking about like, oh man, yeah, we were trying to rip the other dude's head off. Like
the
still bad blood.
Lakers
now you don't get that
rivalry
anymore.
back in like the '70s or whatever.
So I mean, it's good for the sport, but it's like in the back of your head, that like, I mean, how legitimate is this trash talk? Are they actually rivals, or like?
Okay, yeah, I feel like social media, because everyone's like more connected now more than ever, has a part in that, where it's like, this guy's life now, but it's like you go back, it's like you didn't know what Wayne Gretzky was doing on his off days unless he was on TV.
Yeah,
it's like kind of stuff like that. It's not like, oh, this guy's out at this place and during the summer he's doing this. Yeah. I think that's kind of like changed the game a bit. But I think to the main point of enforcers still being a thing, to an extent. I don't think there's going to be a guy on the team specifically for that unless he can play. Like Ryan Reeves, he might be like a third, fourth line guy, but like he still gets points. But then like when he needs to, he'll take someone out.
Yeah,
like he's not gonna go out to try to hurt them, but he's gonna try to send them, a message. Yeah, and I think he's good enough for that. And I feel like he doesn't get as much recognition as he deserves on the play side of things. But like, dude's a fighter.
Yeah, he's probably like.
I feel like teams are still going to have like the guy who can fight, but is going to be able to play. Those freak athletes where it's like, all right, this guy can pummel me, but he's also very good at hockey.
Yeah, it's a little tough to say, but that's kind of why I like a guy like Brad Marchand, where like he's scrappy, gritty, but he's 7th in the league in points. So it's like. He's a guy that is, I wouldn't consider him an enforcer.
He's not an enforcer. He's just,
but it's
like,
people.
A rat's a good word for it. Yeah. Like, funny enough, like, rat is a good word for it.
He's a guy that.
But he gets in people's heads. He gets in their emotions. I've known players like that.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that, like, when other teams get on the ice, people know, like, he's there. Whether it be, like, because of his scrappiness or, like, just because he's so good. I mean, 7th in the league.
He makes people break, like Kadri, the last name amount of years against the Maple Leafs when he was there. It's like he just breaks players and makes them do stupid stuff, and guess what? You win games by that. That's how it happens.
Him and Marchand and Kadri are like two pretty good ones. Like Kadri is not on the same level in terms of skill. But yeah, both those guys kind of have the same mentality where it's like, they're on the ice, whether it be for skill. Another guy like Ovechkin, I mean, he's
tank.
Yeah. I mean, you get hit by Ovechkin, it's
truck.
He hits you and he just keeps going. So it's
crazy,
pretty cool to watch. So.
Well, cool. Appreciate the fan question from one of our awesome HockeyMonkey Instagram followers. You guys be sure to be sending those in for each of our Off the Ice podcasts every month. Just about does it for us here at the Off the Ice podcast. Again, the #1 hockey retail podcast in the world from the #1 hockey retailer in the world, Monkey Sports. We thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. We will be back next week for Monkey Business. We're going to have ECD founder, ECD Greg, on the podcast. So if you are a lacrosse fan, know a lacrosse fan, make sure they tune in. We'll be back for Off the Ice again March 27th. So for the next month, Tyler Grayson, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Thanks, Ed.